Finding inspiration outside of your regular creative field is only going to enhance that creativity within that field. And that's what got me to look at Japanese culture and the Japanese ways of life that helped me narrow down these 3 separate little sayings that can only benefit my creative endeavors. So I want to share these with you in this video and go over what you can do to benefit your career and your creativity in general. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC. You might not be a photographer, you might be a creative, you might be a designer, an illustrator, a filmmaker, a tattoo artist, you could be a musician. But from a photography's point of view, there's these 3 specific Japanese sayings, ways of life that I wanted to talk about in this video that will only benefit your career. Wabi-sabi is described as the beauty in the natural aging process of something. And if you apply that to your photography, your filmmaking, whatever it may be, if you apply that to yourself, just know that as long as you're built with solid material, you know that right now is the worst that you'll be, and that you will only get better with time. You will only age like fine wine. That was horrible. If you look at it maybe from a gear's perspective, you can understand the gear more and more every day and know that right now is the least that you'll ever know about flash or about your lens or about your camera or about 240p or whatever term that you don't know yet. You know, you don't need to know absolutely everything about every little possible scenario before you decide to make some money in photography or something like that. Know that the more you put time and invest into yourself, into this craft, you won't even be able to recognize yourself in 10 years from now if you just keep putting the one step in front of the next. And I say that because, to be honest, I say that I do these videos for my younger self and my future self, but realistically, if this is 10 years ago and I saw me on YouTube, I'd be like, screw this guy, I don't take advice from anybody. So I've always been super hard-headed and stubborn, so like if you watch these and you're like, screw this guy, like I was there too, I understand. But if you just compare even just your photography to cooking or making a sauce or a soup or something, you know, it'll be delicious when you're making it. You can keep tasting and be like, okay, now it's perfect. But give it a day in the fridge and those flavors are only going to get better, and they're going to talk to each other, and the meal only gets better. It's the same with your photography. You might know all of the things right now. You might have all of the techniques that you're going to have next year. But next year, you'll be better at putting them together, using them together to tell your story than you are right now. And it's those little nuances that make you a better photographer. And it's hard to be like, well, man, am I going to be like 10 times better by year 10 than I am now? Like, maybe not. But it's those tiny little things that make you better, and understanding that it's a long process will help calm you down a little bit and be like, oh, okay, wabi-sabi. Now the second word I wanted to bring up is the word ma, which is the Japanese word for the space between things. And we can look at that as the obvious one, as like the negative space in your photos, and oh, okay, let me leave some negative space, and that now I'll be a better photographer. Like, yeah, maybe, sure. I think a lot of the times when your photo doesn't work, you have to get a little bit closer. But for the most part, sure, you can look at it as the obvious, oh, negative, okay, cool. But if we read between those lines a little bit further, the negative, the minimal can be your time between the shoots, and your understanding that you don't need to overwork yourself. You don't need to go from shoot to shoot to shoot to shoot. And trust me, I was the biggest culprit of that. But you don't need to go from shoot to shoot, because spreading yourself too thin is not good for anyone in any field ever, much less creativity. If you're trying to be creative, you need a lot of brain power. You need a lot of willpower. You need to be ready for it. And if you're constantly draining yourself, going from one job to one job to one job, it makes it a lot harder to actually perform in those situations. Appreciate the space between your shoots and recharge and focus on yourself and be a better photographer, so that the next time you arrive on set, you'll be as good as you can be. Focus, like I'm sure you haven't. If you watch this video, if you watch my channel, you have more than enough skill as a photographer to make it, or to like you are plenty good enough as a photographer, I am sure. Learning the new lighting technique, the new gradient, the new hard light modifier, whatever piece of gear will make you a 5% better photographer. Leaning into who you are as a person and taking some time off so that you can actually go to your next shoot motivated and excited to do it will make you a 6% better photographer. Let's put it that way. Appreciate that time off. Appreciate that, okay, now is my time to focus on what it is that's important to me. So like that, when I approach my next shoot, I can showcase that to my next client. I didn't know that yesterday, but I might know it tomorrow, and I can use that for my shoot. I think one of the things that surprises most people that talk to me or ask me questions about photography and my life in general, they don't realize that I don't actually shoot every single day, at least not anymore. I used to, but I don't shoot every single day. I shoot a couple times a week, maybe a couple times a month on a slower month, maybe once a month on a really slow month, but that's just part of the job. And that's not that it's a bad thing. The further I've gone in my career, the less and less I actually shoot, the less and less I have time with a camera in my hands, the more time is spent planning, talking, communicating with people, trying to meet up with brands, or trying to, find a time that works for all of us, or trying to just network, all of those things that come into play. The time with the camera in my hands is the time that I cherish, is the time that it's like, oh, this is the 5% of my month that is the most fun. I need to enjoy this as much as possible. But I also have to enjoy that space between those shoots. If I don't, I'm not going to like my life as a photographer. You're not going to like your life as a creative if you can't find joy outside of the actual photo shooting. You're not going to be going from 10K shoot to 10K shoot to 10K shoot every single day, and you're not going to go from $150 shoot to $150 shoot for 10 years. You'll burn yourself out that way as well. So what's important is to just find a balance for yourself where you can enjoy this part of the job, that part of the job, and this part of the job all at the same time. Shokunin is the spirit of excellence that goes into making something. And I am totally going to butcher the pronunciation of these words, so I apologize to anyone who watches these with Japanese descent or knows how to speak proper Japanese. I apologize, but I definitely appreciate the message that comes with the making something with excellence in mind. And if you have ever been to Japan, or if you've ever had sushi, you know that there is a huge culture. It's ingrained in their culture to just do something with care and appreciation for the craft. You don't just do it to do it. You pay attention and you take care of the things that you do. And I'm not saying that you have to strive for perfection and never, because that's also a bad thing. And that's not what we're getting at here. But trying to do the best that you can every single time you do something, especially if it's in this creative field where you're trying to get better, you're trying to better yourself, you have to put your all every single time. The only way you can do that is appreciating that time between. It's appreciating the time off so that you can go back and actually give it everything all the time. That's tough. Sometimes you can put all of the eggs in your basket and you're still going to miss the mark, and that's fine. That's going to happen. We're human beings. But if you try your best, if you try to realize that I don't have to go do these things, I get to go do these things. I am so lucky to be able to do these things. And then take that mentality and apply it to your craft, your ability to do the thing that you get to do and you love to do. Even if you're not doing it full time yet, even if it's a shoot where you're not actually even making any money, but just give it everything. And who knows, maybe the next one will be more, or maybe they have a friend of a friend of a friend who will book with you later. But I think applying these 3 relaxed changes to our mentality, especially, and I say our as in I think the vast majority of you who watch these are North American focused. There's a few people in Europe as well who watch these videos. But granted, the vast majority of us don't think the way that the Japanese people do, or at least the culture of Japan does. So I think applying these 3 terms, shokunin, ma, and wabi-sabi, to your photography, to your creative endeavor, will make you a better creative in the long run. Head nod, video's almost over. Leave it a like, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below if you have something to say. I appreciate you watching. You can click right here for last week's video that you might have missed. Right here for an old video from a long time ago that I don't know. We'll see what I put up here. Maybe something that didn't perform well. I don't know. We'll see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in a couple days. Later.